Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror film and they discuss it. Today, we're talking Nosferatu the Vampyre from 1979. That was directed by Werner Herzog. I'm your co host, Alec.
I'm Andy Danish.
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have introduced you. I always assume you're just gonna be like, and I'm Andy. Well, welcome back, Andy. I know you're on the show so much that I'm just like, yeah, he's just another guy that's always here. So it's not like I'm always like, oh, dude, it's Andy. We gotta like, what's your favorite horror movie? How did you get into this? So you're an old guest, which happy to have you back.
I always like hanging with you guys and chatting horror movies with you guys. You guys are very knowledgeable, and it's nice to get into the nitty gritty.
Well, dude, I mean, I appreciate you because you introduced me to this film and woo, I feel like I just opened up a wormhole into Werner Herzog's world, man. Like this movie was incredible. And I'd seen the original one. I'd never seen this one. I knew it existed. For some stupid reason, I dismissed it. I was like, what are they doing? They're remaking that? Wow, I was wrong. This is super good. So what is your like history with this film? When did you see it? What do you think of it? Werner Herzog, everything.
I mean, you basically definitely put your finger on the button when you said that there's a whole wormhole of Werner Herzog and some movies he like made in the 70s and the 80s and collaborations he had with Klaus Kinski, who's the actor who plays Nosferatu or in the movie.
Yeah.
And Klaus was considered a method actor at the time where he went the extra mile the same way like Christian Bale would or Robert De Niro did. My thoughts on the movie, I first saw it 20 years ago, and it was always had a morbid mystique for draw for me, where the pacing, the cinematography, the visuals, like there's a lot of very strong visuals in it.
Mm.
Like between all the rats,
Oh,
the dead
yeah.
bodies, just long shots of Dracula himself. I mean, and it's crazy that in this movie, they actually refer to the vampire as Dracula and not as Nosferatu. Like they go back and forth between the two.
Mm.
Because Werner Herzog's version, I read that he made it as a love letter to the original, and he did that, but actually went ahead and kind of used more of Bram Stoker's Dracula's original names and story points in his version than the F.W. Murnau version did. Like they weren't
Mm.
trying to disguise that it was the Dracula story. At that point, he could use like the names from the original story because the copyright had expired.
Right.
But yeah, it was really, really well shot. Like the visuals of the castles and the downtown homes and the rivers and all the families in the streets. And I remember reading that Herzog was trying to recreate some of the shots from the original movie in his movie as well.
Mm. Okay.
Like in the interior castle of Dracula's home, I think he tried to recreate like one of the opening gate areas, like the one long shot of the opening gates.
Mm-hmm.
So what was unique about it also was in order to try to get more distribution, they didn't do an English language dub of the German version because they had filmed it both in German and then in English simultaneously back to back.
Right. Weird.
Yeah, I don't know why. They thought it would be more appealing to American audiences that way or English speaking audiences that way.
Well, I mean, I think the version I saw was dubbed. I think. I mean, a lot of the times it looked like the mouths weren't, or the voices didn't match the bodies, you know? Certain actors did.
Was it English language?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was in English, but I felt like, especially his wife, like her voice, I was like, I'm fairly certain this is dubbed over, but I didn't bother me at all. So it was all English?
Yeah, there was a couple scenes they had to dub, I think, just for like technical purposes, but no, they filmed it in English.
Wow, I mean, like the amount of time that would have taken to film it fully in two different languages, like my God, that must have been a crazy movie. I mean, crazy move. But yeah, man, I mean, you were saying like this being a love letter to Nosferatu, the 1922 film. You've seen that one, right?
I have a couple of times.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like we covered on the podcast a while ago. Great movie. Like obviously has stood the test of time. 100 years later, there's another remake coming out. All that stuff. But this is like a film that I feel like deserved a remake because like of the limitations of the time of having no audio and just what you could do in 1922 compared to 1979. So this would never bother me. Like if I was, I don't really like remakes, but this being a remake does not bother me at all. And I mean, how do you feel about that? That being a classic cinema film being remade?
Yeah, during the 70s with Werner Herzog, where you had a lot of cinema that was much drier. I think the way movies that Werner Herzog were making, I think it definitely fit into his wheelhouse. And I think he was a real fan. He was a real fan of Murnau's and a real fan of the movie. And I think he paid a lot of close attention to a lot of the details of the movie. And I think as far as the tone of the movie, though, there is a clear contrast between the tone Herzog's and Murnau's, because Murnau's, it's silent movie era and the pacing of it and the costumes and Nosferatu's makeup can almost have like a commedia dell'arte feel to it almost. Do you know what I mean? Kind of has some sort of like very exaggerated.
Oh, sure.
And so Herzog's version was pulled back as far as stylistically, and the pacing is certainly a lot slower. So I do think that there are clear differences in their interpretations, even though it's kind of a love letter.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, this doesn't bother me at all that they remade this film with the current technology of the 70s, just doing, I mean, sound alone. But the things that really like blew me away about this movie, obviously, they took a very classic film and they updated it, which was impressive, but the grandiose of everything. I mean, the shots of, I think it was filmed in Germany, but the shots of Germany looked like a storybook, like every single shot. Like when he's riding his horse away, it looks like a painting. I mean, it was just beautiful. I mean, all the scenery. And then the other thing that stood out to me was that this takes place in 1850. How the hell do you turn a town into a believable 1850? And I believed it. They nailed it. This isn't a set, it's a real place that they really turned into an old German village, I guess.
Yeah, they did great with the production and staging and filming locations. And I think they hopped around. They filmed parts of it in Germany and parts of it in Switzerland, I think.
Ah, okay.
I think the beaches and like the castle area in the field is Switzerland. And I think there were a lot of little pieces, though, that kind of did a great job complementing the tone of feeling like the Victorian period, like all the rats, for example, or all the animals that he had in the shots, all like the just little pieces of furniture.
The wine glass that he had, like that looked so antique. Like, I don't know, beautiful.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. It was always just like little stylistic details, like little production details. And yeah, like you said, there were a lot of shots where I agree, they looked like paintings or like they looked like, portraits, especially Lucy. The fact that her skin looks all pale white
Yeah.
and that her look shot against like a dark background, and the fact that she had a lot of still moments and she had a lot of front facing moments with Klaus Kinski standing over her definitely was very portrait-esque.
Oh, dude, the scenes of Nosferatu, like just when he first meets Jonathan, I mean, my God, those with the darkness and the shadows and like his face just like this white illuminated. It looked like the demon from The Exorcist. It was hard to look at, and the acting was incredible from that guy. I know he's crazy, but God damn, he nailed it, dude.
He did. And he got the creepy fingernail effect really nicely done. And the teeth were also really, really creepy. And then when you see the moments when he bites Lucy's neck and he's just sucking on her neck, it was definitely like spine tingling.
Oh yeah.
Like the way he just kind of bit into her and just sucked on her neck. So skin crawling for me.
Dude, I mean that's what ends up killing him, and I mean that line too is just beautiful. It's probably from the Bram Stoker one, but it's like when a woman can like coax the cock from crowing or something like that, where just distracting him basically until the sun comes up. And I was like, oh man, she's sacrificing herself, and yeah, dude, he can't help it. He can't help it. He needs the blood. He needs it. But I'm surprised. Why? I mean, why does she die though, not Jonathan? You know?
Good question.
Yeah.
Well, she made a point to keep Nosferatu sucking on her.
Yeah.
And with Jonathan, he didn't feed on him as long, I think. But I think with her, she basically just kept him on there,
Good
which I
point.
think is probably the reason why.
That makes sense.
I personally don't understand though why all of a sudden the town council decides to want to arrest Van Helsing after putting a stake in Dracula, where all of a sudden it's like he murdered the count and he all of a sudden they're trying to arrest him when clearly there's like a whole plague and epidemic hitting the town, and you have like resources, you have like law enforcement unavailable, but then all of a sudden you have all these people from a local town able to come after Van Helsing, at this pivotal crucial moment.
Yeah, I think they left that out because like the explanation of that guy like being like arrest him, and then it's like they're like we don't have any police, we don't have anything, and it's like well then we'll I don't know, you're going to jail. Like it's like what? Like yeah, leave him alone. Van Helsing too. That might be the coolest last name of all time. Like that last name. I mean, I don't think it's real, but like damn, Van Helsing. It's cool. I mean, maybe it's just because I love Van Halen, but Van Helsing. It's a cool name.
That is a cool name.
They got to make a good Van Helsing movie. That Hugh Jackman one was kind of eh.
Yeah, that was made during the period where it was like Underworld had come out, and there was a lot of like faux dark, gritty action movie. So yeah, I agree with you. There needs to be like a legit Van Helsing. Although to be fair, in the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula, Anthony Hopkins plays Van Helsing.
Yeah.
And he's probably, I think, a closer interpretation of Van Helsing to this one, actually, the one from the 1979 Nosferatu.
Yeah, he's older in that. Yeah. I know. I just kind of want like a badass. I mean, it'd be cheesy, but whatever. But it's beautiful, and the thing that I really wanted to talk to you about is Werner Herzog. I knew who he was. I've seen his acting in a couple things. I've seen The Grizzly Man, the documentary he made, but that's really it. I've never seen any of his actual like narrative plots like this. And dude, I looked up his relationship with Klaus Kinski or whatever. Do you know like about their relationship?
I know there was a lot of friction.
Dude, they made a whole documentary about it called My Best Fiend, and it came out 3 years after Klaus Kinski died. And it's just Werner Herzog telling like that he's crazy, showing behind the scenes documentary of him like attacking people and like getting in fist fights. It is crazy. Look it up on YouTube if you ever get a chance, like Klaus Kinski, and they will go like detail of what his life was like. This guy is crazy. And they even did a spoof with Bill Hader and Fred Armisen for documentary now. They spoof Klaus Kinski, and I was like, this is so fucking crazy. So yeah, that guy's life was nuts.
Yeah, I do remember reading about how Klaus Kinski, I think he attacked extras or supporting other actors on one of the movies he worked on.
Like everybody. Like Werner Herzog, actors, crew, like everybody, dude.
He was giving a lot of crap to, I think, the makeup person who was putting on his makeup for Nosferatu whenever he had to go into like these 4-hour makeup sessions to put everything on.
Yeah, this surprisingly is the one that he's like the most tame on, but the one that he filmed before this with Werner Herzog, I can't remember what it's called now, but it takes place in the Amazon, and that one is like insane. Like the guy probably should have got arrested, but yeah, no, he decided to work with him. They made 5 movies together, and then they had a falling out, and he made a documentary about it. So check it out. It's on Amazon right now. It's free, so it's kind of interesting.
I mean, Werner Herzog has always been very unique as far as being a director is concerned. And I was surprised that he was acting too. Like all of a sudden he's in The Mandalorian.
He's in The Simpsons.
Yes, he is. That's right. It's crazy in some of the projects he pops up in. Also, I think he did a great job with Grizzly Man. And I was watching it, and during that movie, I kept thinking to myself, they kept talking about the actual audio tape that was found that kind of recorded the whole scenario where Timothy Treadwell got eaten by the bear.
Yeah.
And, like apparently the tape has him like screaming and yelling and begging. And so Warner actually said he listened to the tape and he's like, yeah, this is never being shared with anybody. We are not ever letting this see the light of day.
Dude.
But I mean, going back to Nosferatu, he himself has said that even though they filmed two versions simultaneously, like the German version and the English version, he said that his preferred version is the German version,
Yeah.
which I guess makes sense since he's from Germany.
Well, I also think that like some of the English dialogue sounds a little bit like stilted. Like it sounds like it's a German person translating it into English. So it sounds kind of like too literal. Like I'm having trouble thinking of examples, but I thought some of the dialogue in the beginning was kind of like, hmm. But then later on, Nosferatu starts saying some stuff where I'm like, whoa. I am also having trouble thinking of examples, but he said a few lines that just blew my mind. It was all just metaphors and different, scenarios, but his performance, I don't know, it captivated me. Yeah, the story follows basically like the story of Dracula, where it's just a real estate agent, or I guess he's a realtor in this time. He has to go to Transylvania. Dude, it takes 4 weeks. Like, think about how crazy it is now to find an apartment. You just go on like Zillow, you find an apartment in like 2 seconds on your phone. You're like, oh yeah, I'll go see that. It took 4 weeks. And Nosferatu was just kind of like, I'll agree to whatever price you put. Like, it's fine, whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, isn't that crazy how different it is?
Oh no.
I mean, I know obviously it's 1850, but like just the world and how insanely different it. 4 weeks to just like you hope he likes it. You hope Dracula's like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. But like, what if he didn't? And you just wasted 8 weeks there and back.
Yeah, you keep forgetting how much longer it takes to get places during that time period, like how much longer it took to travel places, and how that was normal though during the time period. Although I will say I give Jonathan Harker credit for wanting to walk all the way to the castle from the village by foot. They're like,
Oof.
I have no, the stagecoach. He's like, can I use one of your horses? I have no horses. There's like 6 horses there. Can you give me a ride on your coach? I have no coach. And he keeps tending to his horses and his coach.
Yeah.
That was really funny. Yeah, I agree that Dracula definitely had some really good dialogue, and I think he was given a lot of good philosophical dialogue. He kept talking
Yeah.
about death and life and trying to win over Lucy by saying, well, maybe because I'm suffering by not being able to die, perhaps I can bring joy to you by adding to your love and, reinvigorating meaning in my life. And he kept trying to tempt both of them by saying, well, I can't die. And you think dying is so terrible. And yet I think continuing to live is terrible. So why don't I show you what it's like?
Yeah.
And it seemed like he was definitely a very much more philosophical Nosferatu and Dracula, because I don't think the Nosferatu in the Murnau one was being so wordy. It was not trying to like tempt them with like philosophical discussions.
No, I don't think so either. But I love that. I love the dialogue that he says. It's so like romantic and everything. But if you hate this life so much, just run out in the sun. Like stop. You don't have a right to complain about like, oh, it sucks to live like this. Then kill yourself. It's like pretty easy, man. I don't know. I love it, but still I'm like, Dracula, like, hey.
Wait, is there something about being a vampire though, in like some sort of like biblical or like the magical handbook or something about description of vampires where they are not allowed to destroy themselves? Or
Hmm.
I'm not imagining that. Is there something saying vampires, even though they lament, are not allowed to, inflict self-harm? I don't know.
I mean, maybe. I've never heard that, but even if that's the case, like the sun, I mean, you can just, I don't know, like, so what's gonna happen? Like, you stand out in a field or whatever, and then all of a sudden the sun starts to come up and your body, like, because it knows that you're trying to kill yourself, so it like teleports you to somewhere, like, I don't know, doesn't matter. The one shot though that I really love is when Jonathan is trying to escape the castle and he's climbing down with the bed sheets and he falls and he wakes up and that kid is playing like the violin or something. I don't know if you notice this. The gate looks like Nosferatu's fangs. Like they're up in like a shadow almost, but they're kind of like coming down a little bit. Because it's only because like the contrast of having the wall behind like, some of the spokes of the gate and then having the whiteness behind that, it looks like there's two fangs coming down on him as he's like falling off the wall. And I was like, whoa, that shot blew my mind. I hope it was intentional. I hope I'm not like putting all of this onto it, but I think it was intentional.
I didn't catch that, but I wouldn't be surprised if Herzog tried to do something like that, considering how many abstract shots he throws in. And I did laugh also when there's like certain shots of like the boat coming up and they're putting a little bridge across for the people to get across the boat to get the navigator from off the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And you just see all these random crowd members just like standing around the bridge. And then the camera pans down to like kids who are standing there. And there's like one kid who has his finger in her mouth. And then she just looks around, looks at the camera, and the camera stays with her. And then she looks back at the bridge, but she's looking right into the camera, though.
I love how you notice this, but not the fangs, like the gate fangs.
Man, you know,
Well, that's what movies are fun for. People notice different things, you know?
it's got to be right in front of me, man. You know, no symbolism for me. It's got to be, you got to show, you got to show me, man. You can't tell me. You got to show me. If it's the plague and there's disease running, I got to know by pigs shitting everywhere.
I mean, so are they basically insinuating that the Dracula brought the plague, right? The rats were on the boat and they came to the town and then the fleas got on the rats and all that stuff. So, okay, so they are doing that. Yeah. I mean, they did a great job, dude. I'm surprised there was 11,000 rats because like it's scary. It felt real. It felt like that's what it would look like. They're eating dinner and there's just piles of rats behind them. Like, I mean, rats don't really bother me. I mean, I'm sure they would if there's that many, but some actors, I don't know if they could do that, dude. Some people are freaked out of rats. I mean, do they bug you?
Yeah, not like one or two, but yeah, I would definitely be bothered by like a swarm of them kind of just, squabbling together. I would definitely be bothered by that, I think, since they probably do have disease. Like if you're talking about like subway rats or rats that are kind of just like run through garbage and stuff, yeah, those probably are not clean rats. I would say you can't take those home as pets. You can't go up to one and be like, "Oh, I shall call you Cheesy," and like put it
Yeah.
in your bag and take it home to be a pet or something.
No, of course not. I guess I always mean like, if you're an actor in a movie, like, and you read the script and you're just like, oh my God, I have to be like surrounded by rats and I'm eating food. Like, there's got to be some people that say like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I always think about Home Alone 2 with or Home Alone 1 with the tarantula on the face. I'm like, I don't know if I could actually do that.
Oh,
So I'm always curious, like, what are people's red lines? Not like in general in life. Like, yeah, if you see a shit ton of rats, I'm like, dude, get away from me. But if you were an actor in the situation, do you think you could handle that?
I think I could. Is there's like a animal wrangler right there, or like a person who's like bringing the animals, who's like there with the director, and they're like, keeping you calm the whole time, saying, "Don't worry, he works in a lot of movies.
These rats are in a lot of movies.
These rats are in a lot of movies. I work with them all the time, and they know what they're they know what they're doing."
Yeah.
Like these rats are famous. They won Oscars and everything. They go to Hollywood parties at
Yeah.
Francis Ford Coppola's mansion in between when they have a mansion up in the hills and in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I think I would be comfortable around those rats.
They're sentient and they're aware that they're in a film. It's like, okay, wow. All right, that makes me feel better.
They have their own trailer too.
I guess, but yeah, so 11,000 rats, pigs. I mean, yeah, there's a shit ton of animals. But yeah, so Dracula brings the disease with him. And, I saw the trailer for The Last Dementor, I think it's called, or Demeter or something like that. And I actually thought it looked pretty cool. And I've never heard of that aspect of Dracula being told about the boat, the entire boat, like trip or whatever. Did you see that movie?
I didn't.
That idea is kind of cool though, right? Like the scene of this film, Nosferatu, where they just cut basically from him coming from Transylvania back to Germany or whatever. Like we get to see him killing all of that, like the log or whatever. That's the film. I really want to see that movie.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd watch that.
Yeah, it's like Alien kind of. It's like they're stuck at sea. There's nowhere to go and they can't reach out to anybody and there's a fucking vampire on the boat. Like that's kind of a cool idea. I heard it's not that good, but I'm like, damn, it sounds like it can't be that bad.
I mean, if you direct it properly, it seems like it's in a condensed and centralized enough storyline that I think it could be well made. It could be well produced, I'm sure.
Yeah, I gotta check it out. It came out like 2 years ago.
I gotta check that out too.
Yeah.
I mean, Herzog definitely did a lot with Nosferatu, and his movie's also longer too, though, because like the F.W. Murnau one is like what, an hour and 20 minutes, and
Short,
this
yeah.
one is like an hour and 45 minutes. And that's
Yeah.
partially due to the pacing, though, because the pacing is a lot slower. It's like there are a lot of long shots and long scenes, but it's well paced, but it is definitely longer, though. So he sits in moments, like he sits in Dracula's creepiness a lot. He lets the shots of his face kind of just hang in the air for a moment because, he'll have like Dracula's wet, or I guess I'll call him Dracula for the sake of this. His white face hang in because and I'm still thinking about this in the original Nosferatu. I'm like, the original Nosferatu, they didn't call him Dracula, they called him Nosferatu, but in this one, they actually call him Dracula in this one. So I'm like reminding myself that. But yeah, there's like the long shots of Nosferatu, his face just hanging in the darkness. But then there's like these long shots of him just really taking his time stalking Jonathan or stalking Lucy, or just these little moments that he kind of just really, really takes his time with, like the making his attacks.
Yeah.
And it's also like these long shots of like the environment, like Lucy running around the town square, Lucy interacting with all the other people. Like they really take their time to set the stage and create the environment in the Werner Herzog one.
Well, even in the very beginning with Jonathan walking through the town, like that takes a while, but I loved it, dude. It reminded me of like Willy Wonka. Like I mean, I think that was filmed in Germany too, but it looked like a little German village. And I don't know, I didn't mind the long shots. And I think I just give a pass to older films because I'm just impressed with what they were able to do, and I think like Werner Herzog is kind of known for this. I haven't seen another one of his narrative films, and I'd like to see more, but I think this had a kind of like a documentary-esque kind of feel to it. Like you became immersed with the crowd. You became immersed with what the character was going through in a way that felt different than a lot of horror films.
Yeah, I see that. I see that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's beautiful. It's well acted. I mean, the music's good. There's really nothing I can think of that's like bad about it. I'm trying to think if there's one bad thing about this movie. I mean, aside that it's not like a full blown it's a vampire killing people. It's a little bit more romantic, I think, and even not just the content, but the way it's shot.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely has a very romantic feel. And yeah, like you said, the music is very sweeping and epic and just has like this bravado that builds to it. And it has like, this romantic feel. It doesn't have a darker, more morose feel to it. And you described it well as it looking like a storybook or being like a fairy tale almost. And there are critiques I have, and I think that there are times where it does get too slow. I think some of the pacing of some of the scenes could be a little quicker,
Mm.
but because there are times where it's like, okay, I can definitely see that derailing it, the watch for people who maybe like the story, but are like, okay, I want to see what happens next because maybe they're like accustomed to watching TV shows or something, or watching like movie quality TV, or maybe don't have longer attention spans anymore.
Yeah.
More people our years or age don't have as much of an attention span. Who knows?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I think you're right. But for people that enjoy film, like if you can go back and watch a movie like this and look at it through the lens of somebody from 1979, I mean, you're gonna enjoy it so well. I always do that. If I'm watching a film I've never seen before and I know that it's old, I always try to like go in with that preconceived notion that, hey, what if this? I don't know anything that's happened since this, so this is the first time I'm seeing it, and it usually works. You can usually appreciate it more. And the long shots reminded me of another film that came out this year. Do you ever see The Deer Hunter?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So many beautiful shots of like Pennsylvania and coal country and all that stuff. And it kind of reminded me of that where it felt real in a way. And maybe it was just the film grade or something, but it just looked and felt more real. And that's a slower movie by a Vietnam War standard. Like this might be a slower film by a vampire standard, but yeah, I don't know. I love both of those movies. And thank you for introducing me to this because I really do. I love it. And I'm excited to see the new one. We are recording this a couple weeks earlier than Octo. I know the new one hasn't come out yet for us, but I would like to see that one. What are your thoughts on that?
I do too. I'm curious to see what they do with it because, we saw with Werner Herzog, oh, his intention was making a love letter to the original one. And so with this one, I'm curious how they differentiate it. The trailer definitely looks very, very intense and much more morose and intense. And yeah, just curious to see what they do with it.
Yeah, I think that the problem is like from 1922 to 1979, there is an unbelievable jump in what's possible. I mean, audio, color, I mean, very limited special effects and makeup, but like huge jump. And then from 1979 to now, it's mostly just computers that have changed. So the only thing we're really gonna be adding is, yeah, like intense music, intense angles, like things that aren't possible without CGI. So I'm having trouble thinking how they can expand it beyond that, but who knows? I could be totally wrong. It could be amazing. So we'll see.
I was just say maybe they'll do something different with the character makeup. Like maybe they'll change his facial construction, or
Mm,
maybe they'll change something physical. Because they did do a lot. There was a lot of physical differences between the 1979 makeup and the 1927, I think it is, that
I think it's 22.
22. Like in the original one, he has like, sideburns. He has like hair around the side and his ears are like pointier and he has like a more pointed face. But
Mm,
Klaus Kinski has a more rounded face, I think. And he has his ears are also a little bit rounder and fall flat a little bit and aren't as like intense. So there are like, some physical differences as far as like facial features and facial expressions are concerned.
hmm
So maybe it'll be different, even more of a contrast in the new one.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I'm eager to see what they do. It's Bill Skarsgård, so he's pretty good with makeup with from It and all that. So, but my question actually kind of is it related to the looks of vampires? So for me, my scariest vampire actually came out the same year as this. I think the scariest vampire is the Salem's Lot from 1979. That vampire, it terrifies me. Do you have a vampire that you think is the scariest looking of all time?
That is a good question. Hmm. I don't know if I can think of one off the top of my head. Because, I mean, there are ones where it's like I've watched it, and then all of a sudden I see so many movies that kind of are parodies of those particular interpretations. So, like the original Bela Lugosi one, for example, that's always been like one of the benchmark looks for Dracula. But then all of a sudden you see all these other movies that kind of have the same Count look for
Yeah.
him, and then all of a sudden become a parody of that. So then when it becomes to vampires, there's always been attempts to kind of contemporize them, and I can't think of one that I think stands out for me as being scarier, perchance.
Well, if you think about it, let me know. Because I always go to my Salem's Lot. I'm like, it's scary, scary. Have you ever seen Shadow of the Vampire?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
That's with Willem Dafoe and John Malkovich.
Yes, Willem Dafoe plays Nosferatu, or he plays like, an actor supposedly playing Nosferatu.
Max Schreck, I think.
Yeah, he's supposed to be playing Max Schreck, but isn't like the joke or like the twist is that he's actually playing a vampire pretending to be Max Schreck playing Nosferatu? Or do I have that mistaken? It's like the twist is that like Max Schreck might actually be a vampire.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's the twist. It's like Murnau sees, oh, he's actually a vampire. He's actually sucking his blood. Keep filming him. Keep filming this.
Yeah, so like the idea of it is it's like the making of Nosferatu and like what actually happened behind the scenes. So like this movie just has so much going for it. Like the plot of three remakes or two remakes, and then also like the making of is also its own narrative film. So very cool, man. I love this, and thank you for showing me this one.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot too, and I'm glad I had a chance to re-review it again for this. And yeah, I'm just reminded of how beautiful looking it was and how well filmed it was.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely gonna go down the Werner Herzog rabbit hole. I'm gonna finish My Best Fiend and see some of his other films. But anyways, everybody, thank you very much for listening into our discussion on Nosferatu the Vampire. We'll see you next week with something